Emo, or in other words, emotional. Why is it difficult for us to feel? Not only that, but to show or express how we feel. Just a little of my experience from what I can remember. I grew up with a mother who was not very physically or verbally affectionate, and my father was the one that was more playful with my siblings and I, but I honestly can't recall the embraces or kisses that every child should remember. I jokingly tell people that the first time I remember getting a hug was when I left for camp. I'm sure my mother may have hugged me before, but I just can't seem to remember. I don't think that that's a great way to experience or express self, and as a result, I learned at an early age to be non receptive and ungiving of such, which causes some resentment. Unhappy to confess, this appearance of coldness has translated into poor relationships, as it prevented many from ever getting too close to me. The affections that others may have desired from me was never given to provide that security in our bond, and this often resulted in misperceptions of my love for them and misunderstandings of who I was and am. As I try to ponder a little bit deeper and further, I don't recall being consoled when I cried or congratulated when I was excited, which could explain why I saw being outwardly expressive as useless. Today, I know that crying is necessary because it's a release. It's a way to get rid of the ache in your soul and that pressing ball that you may feel in the center of your chest, especially when you need to cry because your heart hurts. I also know now that expressing joy brings light to those who are around you, and loving freely gives a breath of fresh air to those that really appreciate it. It doesn't help that society teaches one that showing vulnerability and weakness is a negative attribute, and it doesn't help when people are manipulative of your vulnerability when you decide to open up. Although, one must protect themselves and survive, so to speak, I find that this thinking has left so many people with a hole that can't be mended. And because when that side of you is denied, you're denying your humanity, and your soul is naturally very expressive before there was even verbal language. There's body language, there's vibrations, and they reveal so much more than words can articulate. So when your soul is not able to express itself, again, it's another way to slowly and internally die. Now, over the years, much has been grasped when it comes to me expressing myself, and I have to give credit to my daughter, Princess. She was born naturally affectionate, and it took me some getting used to receive her love in that manner before I no longer thought that she was an invasion of my privacy, or that she was, intruding on my bubble space and being too clingy. But then there was no concept of expression in this manner lost in my subconscious, so that's why it felt very foreign and unusual and also unappreciated. At the time, I wanted a better way to be clear with myself and to understand or understand myself and others. So I did read the book called The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman, which expanded my knowledge on how love is given and received. It's a wonderful book if you haven't read so already. I did find that I don't receive love the same way that I give it. Like, for instance, when I took the test, it revealed that I like to show love via me serving you or buying gifts, but that when the same is done for me, I don't appreciate it as much as I would a hug or a verbal affirmation. And I couldn't really ascertain then as to why they were different, but I have since matured more and now can say that it was probably encoded by me watching my parents as they grew up and how they expressed their love. I also know now that that was not my own encoding that truly resonated with my being. So I had to do some rewriting on my subconscious. And so this insight has also revealed what I was blind to in my relationships with others, as well as their actions. So again, reflection, reflection, very important. But back to the topic. I've observed that we as a whole don't share our emotions, whether it's fear, anger, love, joy, etc., due to the belief of them not being received correctly and us being judged. Most people want to wear a mask of strength and power, even though they suffocate as they live out that lie. The stereotype regarding, which gender is supposed to be expressive is limiting and hindering to our growth and our maturity. In my opinion, men are capable of expression and allowed to cry just as much as we are as women, and still be looked at in their masculinity, still be looked at in their strength and not less than. I mean, shit hurts sometimes, and it's okay to let it go in whatever manner you see fit. So if shedding tear works, then go for it. What we haven't been taught in the manual for living is that everything is masculine and feminine. There should be a balance, and everything has that energy of both dynamics. There are tribes in Africa that practice the managing of this balance, which is another good read called The Spirit of Intimacy, Ancient African Teachings and the Ways of Relationship by Sobonfu Somi. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing her name, but she explains that during the anniversary of the tribesmen initiation into manhood, all of the initiated men take an excursion to the site where their initiation occurred to have a mothering ritual where they're allowed to cry as much as they want to reawaken that part of them so that they can stay in touch with emotion and release the burden of being a man and all that comes with managing their responsibilities. And some of the men become caretakers to console and support the others that are releasing in that way. And based on Somi's explanation, it helps the men not to feel the need to invoke control in the ritual space of intimacy. It's believed that when the warrior spirit of man isn't tamed by a motherly energy, then it's impossible for a man to engage in intimate relations with his partner. Likewise, the women also go through a similar ritual where they take on the role of a man. They go out into the cave or the bush to build their masculine energy by acting out rage and anger, hunting, warrior dances, as well as dressing like men. And these practices, they help to maintain the balance in the home and the village. The diaspora has all but lost our traditions in that structure, in the maintaining the balance through purposeful disintegration of our tribes, culture, language, and family. And the inability to impress has compressed our beings and leaves pain in excess, physically, mentally, and emotionally, because our bodies are affected by the mental and thus manifested in the emotional and physical planes. Hence, this is why we are full of ailments and diseased. And although this knowledge is well known, the application of this truth remains a distant awakening to some. Yet, we are returning to balance and respect, unity and power through spiritual works. In energy work, this exchange runs across all chakras, for all is connected and brings healing to all as well. We are all expressions of our Creator. Living a full life includes feeling and the freedom of that expression with no fear or regrets. So I encourage my beloveds to release that which you have been holding on to because it doesn't serve you in your greatest capacity. And once you release it, it allows you to make room for new experiences of different emotions. Of course, as always, a word of caution: be wise about when, where, and definitely with whom, or if you have thick skin, just let it go. The choice is yours, but be present, for your gift is here and in the now. Allow yourself to feel whatever emotions and sensations become of you. After acknowledging them, express it by either writing them down in poetry or song, draw or paint them, jog, yell, and scream if you have to. And if you need some help on how to, ask a toddler. They have no problem explaining to anyone, anywhere, just how emo they are. Never mind the acceptability of that. Understandably, you'll probably get the suggestion to grow up, but you are in fact growing up by releasing that which stunts your growth, which is lack of self-expression. Eventually, society will catch up and merge into this new reality, or just turn themselves into robots, which we can clearly see already happening. But in which case, you're not living and are barely existing. You're just consuming space if you're not free to be yourself. I'm just saying, be alive, beloveds. And that includes feeling, letting those emotions be. Until next time, beloved, I love you.